to talk a little bit about the comments made by Shannon Sharpe in reference to some other comments made by Mike Tomlin. And it mostly stems around hiring policies and things of that nature.
Right.
So one of the things that Shannon Sharpe had mentioned was that he was not letting Mike Tomlin off the hook. One of the things to backtrack what Mike Tomlin says is that he normally doesn't talk publicly during the off season, but this is a critical issue. He made reference to Eric Bieniemy not getting the look that he felt should have gotten as far as for a head coaching job within the NFL being a minority. He said Tomlin also took issue with the fact that several black coaches, Marv Lewis, for example, and this is the name that he used, haven't been able to land second head coaching jobs. Then during this discussion, he highlighted Eric Bieniemy's inability to secure a head coaching job despite interviewing with 6 teams. Then Shannon Sharpe chimes in and he says, and I quote, Mike Tomlin has been a head coach for 14 years. Mike Tomlin has not hired a black offensive or black defensive coordinator, end quote, began Sharpe. And then he really got animated and accusing Tomlin of, and I quote, doing exactly what you say other teams should not do, end quote.
Right.
He also goes on to say, Shannon Sharpe says, not letting you off the hook with this, Mike. You're in the position to hire black people and you have not done that. So I'm not letting you throw stones at everyone else.
Wow.
So,
shots fired, huh?
we can break that down in a lot of different ways, if you will. Just for sakes of debating the actual topic, you will, of course, immediately have some people who would chime in and say, well, why is Shannon Sharpe defending the NFL and things of that nature? And I'm saying this is just where this conversation, where the dialogue could go in this whole entire situation.
Right.
You know, in my opinion, everybody's has their side, but I just ask that if you bring it to me and you ask my input, please be willing and able to defend your stance, is all I say. Because a lot of times I get people that say things to me and then I ask them on the back end, well, what are your facts or what is your support in that whole situation? How do you back this up? How do you justify it, if you will, your thoughts? And then they can't give it to me. So that's all I ask in this whole situation. Now, in my outlook, I see that he has a point.
Shannon Sharpe?
Yeah, Shannon Sharpe has a point. And you know, I have to tell you folks, when I do this, I give you the opinions that are mine and mine only. Hence, when I give you other stuff, I tell you who it's from. I'll give you the quote, end quote, after the statements and all of that nature, like I'm supposed to do as a media member, as a journalist. But the majority of the time, I'm giving you my thought process, my opinions. And I never come to you with anything without doing some homework first. So I'm not just sitting here saying, oh, I read these comments that Shannon Sharpe said, oh yeah, it's right. I've actually went back and done my homework. And the difference here is I have to do all of that work myself because of where I am on this podcast. Shannon Sharpe in the big market, you know, major sports or whatever, has people that will do this research for him. And this is no discredit at all. It's just the way the two entities are set up. But for me to be true to myself and true to who I am and true to what I do my homework. And he is pretty much correct. And when he states that Mike Tomlin is in that position and has not hired any blacks. So I get where Shannon Sharpe can
Point out.
go at him, so to speak, and say, I'm not letting you off the hook because you say this now because you're on this interview, but what you're saying that they should do is stuff that you have not done your own self.
Right.
So
he has
I
power to do it.
understand
Right.
where he's going with it. Is basically like what I just said. When
Right.
you bring it to me, if you're going to have that, show me some proof or back up what you did and what you said.
Right.
In Shannon Sharpe's eyes and from the outside looking in, and after me doing my homework,
True.
there's a lot of validity to Shannon Sharpe's side of the issue.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I said, I've done my homework and I've looked at coaching staffs and things of that nature. And for one, he's right. He is in the position to make those hires, and he hasn't. So basically, Shannon Sharpe is saying there's no legit reason for you to downplay what's going on when you're in that position and you can change that or you can make that happen, and you have not done it. So I understand where Shannon's point is, and you have to understand, people, if we can't as a people talk to each other, and of course a lot of times it could be the delivery and how he presented the information, which could have people immediately thinking one way, but once you take a step back, take a deep breath, and go through the things and read all the facts and decipher all the facts,
right,
you get the broader picture. So you have to take into consideration a lot of what Shannon Sharpe is saying,
right,
in the fact that, again, you're in this position to make change, but you haven't done it, but yet you're going to knock the NFL, which you are a part of, for not doing it. You know, if that's the case, and I think this is kind of like where Shannon Sharpe was going, I'm just giving you my take on where I think he was going. If you feel that way, then you're in that position. Use your position to make the change and have some things happen. Then you won't have to preempt your comments by saying, I don't usually talk in the off season publicly, but, you know, so there's probably going to be a little bit more talk about this. I'm not sure how. Probably won't be anything from the NFL. There may be something if Tomlin feels that he wants to sort of, for lack of a better phrase, get back at Shannon Sharpe. But what I think needs to be done is, like I said about my situations with talking with people and having dialogue with people, now the ball is in your court, Mike Tomlin. You know, so what are you going to do with it?
True.
Now you have to not so much justify, now you have to own up to the truth that was said, and now you have to make a decision, whether you want to be part of this change or whether you want to just talk about this change, when talking about this change really is not going to do much. But again, the biggest point I think in Shannon Sharpe's whole argument is he's in the position to do something as opposed to saying something, and he has not done it. So that's my take on that whole situation. Moving along, I mentioned the Arizona Wildcats basketball team being served 5 level 1 violation charges. So folks, if you do not remember, couple years back, it was a huge story,
right,
with concerning Mr. Dawkins and the Nike issue and the bribery issue, where a lot of names came out, a lot of top flight schools came out,
right,
coaches were fired, coaches were federally charged. Some of these coaches will actually end up serving jail time, because of this whole situation. And it was the basic, they put it in basically, the FBI PI probe on what goes on in college basketball, the pay to play.
Right.
So they make reference to one of the assistant coaches and the head coach, Sean Miller, the head coach, and Emmanuel Book Richardson and Mark Phelps, who are charged with violating the principles of ethical conduct, engaging in pre-enrollment academic misconduct, and or providing an impermissible recruiting inducement when they knowingly arranged for false academic transcript for two men's basketball prospects, student athletes. Okay. They also charged Sean Miller, the head coach, for not demonstrating that he promoted an atmosphere for compliance and monitored his staff. So basically what they're saying is Emmanuel Book Richardson, whose name came up in that federal scandal, and Mark Phelps did some things behind the scenes to either assure some athletes to continue play as far as their transcripts and things of that nature, which is not allowed, or they fudged some things to have people come in as new recruits. For those two. On the other side, when they charge Sean Miller, they're saying that he failed to demonstrate or monitor his staff. So basically they're saying he knew what was going on, he understood what was going on, and he did nothing to try and sway it or change it or stop it. Okay, it also goes, and I quote, Miller failed to demonstrate he promoted compliance by not establishing that compliance was a shared responsibility within the men's basketball program, not setting clear expectations that his coaching staff comply with the NCAA legislation, and not require the immediate reporting of actual and potential violations to the compliance staff for an independent inquiry. Okay, these guys allegedly came up with fraudulent academic transcripts. They took bribes. They facilitated meetings with aspiring agents, which is impermissible inducements and recruiting violations, all within an 18-month period. Okay, so they were charged with 5 level 1 violations, and like I mentioned way back when, and I told you when it was hot that it was going to die down, but it wasn't going to stop.
Oh yeah.
You know, you're dealing with a federal indictment, and it's not like a local indictment, it's a federal indictment.
A lot of teams will come out.
So with them being charged with those 5 violations, 5 level 1 violations, if you will, there's going to be more, because it depends. I mean, I think it's going to be more digging and searching on the teams that were initially named in the beginning, and Arizona was one of them, USC was one, I forget what the other ones were right offhand, but there are going to be more. There's going to be more digging, and there's going to be more questioning, because those coaches that were indicted that may possibly, or not may possibly, that will end up serving some jail time, will probably or arguably begin to talk a little bit more to reduce some of the time that they may see. It happens all the time.
Just like the streets.
Okay, so they're going to start talking, and there's going to be more digging. So we'll see how that plays out. And like I said, you know how I do. As much as I hear and I get it, I bring it to you, but I also do my homework before I deliver it to you on this platform, on this live, on air. Because I wouldn't be true to myself, true to my craft, if I didn't do my homework prior to bringing this stuff to you. I can't just tell you, sit here and say, oh, well, there were violations given out and this and there, and then end it there.
Right.
Then you're just saying, you know, people would just say, oh, well, yeah, all right, we knew that, you know, stuff that we got in the news. But I have to give it to you, and I like to give it to you from a fan's perspective, from a layman's perspective, if you will, and not mixed up within the broadstream or the mainstream media, because I feel like I can give you a little bit more, and I can make things a little bit more clearer for you, better to understand than getting it from the mainstream media. So, we all have heard about the young players who now have the option to go overseas and play, starting with LaMelo Ball, who went overseas. His father took him out of high school, took him overseas to play. He's now in the NBA.
Right.
They also created a program around the G League, where some of these guys can get out of high school and come and play there, which a lot of players have decided that they will go that route or go overseas and not attend college, because they still have that rule where you have to attend the 1 year at college and then you can be eligible for the draft. So some of these players are looking at it as, I played in high school my 4 years, whatever, I'm a top prospect.
Right.
Why would I, and this is, and some of what my thought process is their thought process, and in light of what they're doing, why would I go to college for 1 year and stay an amateur when I can go overseas and play for pay and then go into the NBA draft the following year or the following 2 years down the line? But now I can get paid, and you know, the basic thing is you have to be 1 year removed from high school. So if I have to be 1 year removed, then I don't have to go to college now. I can go overseas and I can get paid, and then come to the NBA and get paid again.
Yeah. So
there's a lot of players who are arguably going to think heavily about that and take that route. But now, as of last week, there's a pro basketball league, Overtime Elite. It's going to launch in September, and they will compensate high school age players. They will launch this league, Overtime Elite, targeting top ranked players 16 to 18 who are willing to forfeit their remaining high school eligibility and future college eligibility to earn 6 figures.
Wow.
So we're talking a lot of money. It says each OTE player will earn at least $100,000 guaranteed for the season.
That's for 2 years?
This is just for 1 season.
Oh, 1 season, okay. They did it 2 years. Okay. That's $200,000.
The league also plans to compensate players through bonuses, equity in overtime, and revenues from a player's name, image, and likeness. The latter, an NCAA issue that is currently being discussed in Congress. Wow. As you remember, I brought that to you too. There's the NIL bill, which is in discussions to have these college players earn money from their name, their likeness, and their image while they're in college.
Right.
Which is going to be a tough fight. Okay, I would love to see that happen. So now they're kind of pushing the envelope here with Overtime Elite, where they're going to allow them to do that initially, right out the gate.
Right.
They're guaranteed to earn $100,000 for the season.
Right. That's good.
As a 16 to 18-year-old.
That's a lot of money.
This is arguably more money than you have seen in your lifetime. So there are a lot of players that are going to go this route. They're also offering them equity in overtime. So basically they'll have a share in this league depending on how this league progresses or whatever.
Right.
They will also have full healthcare benefits, and they will offer up to $100,000 for players who to use toward college tuition in the event a player doesn't go on to play in the NBA or other professional leagues, which I think is going to be a major kicker in this whole thing, because like I said, this is a lot of money. Arguably the most amount of money these kids have ever seen in their lives. And then now they're enticing it, they're increasing it by telling you you're going to get $100,000. If you make a team in this league, you play in this league, you're going to get $100,000 regardless. You got healthcare benefits. Okay, you're going to get equity in the entire business.
Tuition on there.
Then you're going to get $100,000 if you decide to go to school or don't get drafted in the NBA,
It's a win-win for
or don't go overseas.
It's a win-win.
So they're presenting, like Frank just said, they're presenting the win-win for
Wish I had that.
these 16 to 18-year-olds. And it goes back to, and it's going to come up in a lot of conversation,
Mm-hmm.
what if I go to school, 16, 17, 18-year-old, prospect, very highly suited,
Mm-hmm.
okay, let's say I chose to go that route where I got to go to college for 1 year. Let's say I get hurt,
Mm-hmm.
major injury that could potentially
In your career.
shorten or end my career. Then what do I do?
You got a backup plan.
Most of these kids don't have a backup plan for that situation.
Now they do. Now they do.
Now it's being presented to them
Can't screw that
in
up.
a way where they almost can't resist.
Or screw up.
Well, you can still screw it up.
Well, you know what I mean?
You can
Like,
still screw it up.
it's like a
But you can
layup.
still get hurt.
Yeah.
Like I said,
I'm
you're going to
talking
have health
about
benefits,
education-wise.
but there's no guarantee that.
Because Emmett Smith, real quick, Emmett
But
Smith
the
went to school
problem,
to get his degree.
yeah, but the problem becomes
Mm-hmm.
these kids are 16 to 18. They're not Emmett
They're
Smith.
puppet. They're puppet. I feel what you're saying.
They're not Emmett Smith.
Right.
They're 16 to 18.
Yeah.
So at that point, I could potentially end up with $200,000,
In your bank account.
and I'm going to school with that? No, I'm not going to school with that. I'm going to use some of that, take care of my family, do what I need to do,
Right.
and I'm going to spend some of that.
Yeah.
Then whatever's left, if I decide to go to school, I'll go to school.
Right.
Then it won't be the same 100,000 unless they put some type of stipulation on it,
Yeah, a catch or something. Yeah.
where if you don't decide to go to college, you don't get that extra 100,000.
Yeah, they should.
But it's nothing saying in here that they
We
will
don't
do
know.
that. But it'll be yet
When it's
to be
supposed to start,
seen.
Dave? You don't
This
know?
is going to start in September.
Wow. I know Baldy.
So,
I wish Baldy was
This process, it is
What happened to us? 90.
basically giving these kids an out,
Yeah,
if you will.
Spoon feed these kids, man.
Especially the ones that knew or had in the front part of their mind that because this is what the rules are, I have to be 1 year removed from college. Now I don't have to just sit out. I could go to college, but what if I'm not college material as far as with the book wise? I could go and play, and again, if I get hurt in that first year and can't play, then my whole dream in that life
smoke.
is potentially up in smoke.
Yeah.
With this, I'm guaranteed to get this $100,000. Like I said, which could do wonders for some of these kids
Families, yeah.
and their families.
Is this all over the country, Dave?
I don't know. It probably is all over the country,
I
but
gotta dig this up, man.
you know, it is
That's awesome.
amazing
That's awesome.
that this is coming out, and I don't know how I feel about it 100%. Because, like I said, I like to look at things and I like to cover every angle.
Yeah, I'm gonna read it.
So, in a small way, what they're saying right here and what's potentially going to be provided for these kids,
set up, man.
I say it's a good thing.
Hell yeah.
But then there's so many other avenues that lead into it,
Right.
where you have people that might be allegedly in this particular kid's corner,
For money only.
but for the money.
Mm-hmm.
Or you may have these managers who want to do certain other things
For the money.
with this kid's money for bad investments and things of that nature and whatnot,
Gambling.
where they see not that much of that 100,000.
Right.
So there's a lot of ways that this thing could go,
It's good.
and it has its good, and ultimately it has its bad.
Yeah, the gift and the curse. Yeah.
You know, so it's yet to be seen how
September. I'm gonna check this
how
out.
this will be played out in the long run. But again, like I said, it's possible that they could have some success, and it's possible that they could have
Where does money coming from?
not so much success.
Wow.
Coming from Old Time Elite Basketball, it's a
They
company.
got money like that.
It's a short form. It was a video content company, and they're launching their own professional league. So apparently they have some backing within themselves and from other people that are willing to do this. and help them along this trek.
Tax write-off.
So we'll see, what happens. Again, like you said, there are some guys who did it the other way by going to overseas and playing, and then again you have the NBA's G League development program, but it will only pay select players with college eligibility anywhere from 125 to 500,000 in a season.
Right.
But it says select players.
Right.
The OTE is including all players, which is another thing that's making it more enticing for these kids.
Right.
And like you said, 16 to 18
they're babies, man.
is a crazy grouping for them to throw this type of money at. That
real
point
quick.
in their
I remember I
life.
worked for Philly job when I was 16. My first job.
Listen,
They can't.
listen,
I ain't had no
it's-
$100,000.
It's way different. Like I said, $100,000
I had $100.
arguably more than these kids have seen in their
I'm a
lifetime.
grown man. I ain't had that money. I'm
So
27.
it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out and what happens with that. So
Wow.
closing out today,
Yeah, great show.
we are going to talk a little Eagles
Mm-hmm.
here with the draft approaching next month.
April 25th.
Yeah, April 25th.
Yeah, last Thursday in April.
There,
I'm watching it.
the Eagles are doing some things
Mm-hmm.
to prepare for the draft.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, Howie is doing some things with the numbers. Like I mentioned in my news, he saved $9 million on the cap and restructuring Darius Slay's contract.
Yeah.
He's in the process or in talks of restructuring other contracts.
Sean Jackson. Right?
And I said that a few weeks back that is where Howie's forte is,
Mm-hmm.
spending or saving the money, crunching those numbers.
What's up, Noah?
As far as him picking talent
Thanks for
for the
coming.
team, it's not his forte. So I think that he needs to kind of shy away from that and basically stick with the numbers. So I have 1, 2, 3 mock drafts for the Eagles,
Right.
and then I have another special thing where they have 6 options at the 6th pick.
Y'all picking 12, right?
There's-
Six.
There's a lot of chatter and discussion or talk about what are they going to do with that number 6 pick.
Trade out.
I've talked to some people. I even talked to somebody yesterday, and they mentioned that they felt like the Eagles could trade down.
Trade down. Yeah.
Someone asked me yesterday as well. My brother-in-law asked me, Marlon asked me, what did I think they should do at number 6?
Quarterback.
In my opinion,
Your line.
and this is what I said to him, at number 6,
Off the line.
with everything that's needed on the Eagles roster, you take the best available player
Okay.
possible.
Right.
Because it's not like you're specifically need
They got holes
just
everywhere.
offensive line.
Mhm.
You got holes everywhere.
Yeah.
So at that point, you take
The best offensive line.
the
in
best
there.
offensive player, period, or the best player, period.
Player position.
Whether it's offense, defense,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
At that point, you take the best player available. I was also asked about the quarterback situation, and I just saw something this morning. Jeffrey Lurie is adamant about the team making it about Jalen Hurts and improving on Jalen Hurts being the Eagles starter moving forward.
Right. He might be.
So with that point, with that being said, you consider looking at free agency as far as bringing in a quarterback.
Right.
And I say that because basically you can't really have an open competition right now because all you have is Jalen Hurts and Nate Sudfeld.
Right.
In my opinion, being a rookie, starting only 4 games,
Right.
appearing in only 15 games or whatever, Jalen Hurts would be my go-to. There wouldn't be a competition in training camp. It would be Jalen Hurts, and then ultimately Nate Sudfeld will be your number 2,
Right.
which I don't think Nate Sudfeld is a number 2. So you bring in a veteran that can help this young kid along with the intricacies of being a starting quarterback in the NFL if that particular backup that you bring in was ever a starting quarterback. There have been some names floating around: Marcus Mariota, Tyrod Taylor. And Tyrod Taylor is very interesting to me because he has ties to the newly minted offensive coordinator of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Mariota? He's a little inconsistent.
I don't know about Mariota.
He's okay.
He's young.
Yeah.
But then that would arguably bring shadows of some type of competition because these both guys are both young. Although Mariota has a couple years on Hurst and he was a starter, still could arguably do that. You bring in a seasoned veteran, somebody like a Tyrod Taylor, like I said, who's familiar with Shane Steichen. He can help him along the way with the intricacies of the offensive scheme and being a quarterback in the NFL.
True.
A starting quarterback in the NFL. Where they have that experience. Maybe not a lot as a starter, but at some point a starter. But overall, someone that has put in some time in the NFL as opposed to having Nate Sudfeld as your backup. So, one draft in round 1 with the number 6 pick, the Eagles are speculated to take Jamar Chase, which would be a great pick.
What is that, corner?
Wide receiver from LSU.
Yeah, I heard that.
Then we move into round 2. You go Landon Dickerson from Alabama on the offensive line.
Yeah, I need some line help.
Jabril Cox, linebacker from LSU, number 3. Second pick in number 3, a defensive back, Richie Grant from the University of Central Florida.
Back end need help too.
2 picks in round 5. Malik Herring from Georgia, the defensive end. And then there's a cornerback, Ifeatu Melifonwu from Syracuse. Round 6, Dez Fitzpatrick, another wide receiver who could be had, who could possibly help you in the later rounds. And then at 7, Caleb Huntley from Ball State at the running back position, which I don't think you really need much there. Another mock draft has them taking a quarterback with that number 6 pick in Justin Fields, quarterback from Ohio State.
He's okay.
The second round, Eric Stokes, cornerback from Georgia. Round 3, Amari Rogers, a wide receiver from Clemson. Tyline Wallace, a wide receiver from Oklahoma State. Round 5, Caden Stearns, a safety from Texas, and Jalen Moore, offensive tackle from Western Michigan. Round 6, Jack Anderson, another offensive lineman from Texas Tech, or Trey Norwood, the defensive back from Oklahoma. And in the 7th round, John Bates, a tight end from Boise State. The third and final one that I thought was kind of looking like what the Eagles need, and this is Kyle Pitts. I talked about him previously, but I think if he was drafted into the NFL because of his size, I think he would be flanked out to a wide receiver in the NFL. So that's Kyle Pitts, the tight end from Florida. Eric Stokes, again, the cornerback from Georgia in round 2. Round 3, Dylan Moses, a linebacker from Alabama. Then James Hudson, the offensive tackle from Cincy. Round 5, Joshua Bledsoe, safety from Missouri. Marlon Williams, a wide receiver from University of Central Florida. In round 6, Trey Hill, an interior offensive lineman from Georgia. Cornell Powell, wide receiver from Clemson. And number 7, Shakur Brown, cornerback from Michigan State University. These are some of the options that could possibly be had for the Eagles at number 6. And this list I liked, so I added it in. Jamar Chase, again, the wide receiver from LSU. Again, they say Justin Fields, the quarterback from Ohio State. And I don't think they should draft a quarterback there. Micah Parsons, the linebacker from PSU. I've been hearing a lot about him being possibly tied to the Eagles in some type of way. Again, Kyle Pitts, the tight end from Florida. Devontae Smith, the wide receiver from Alabama, who I don't think will be there at number 6. And then one of the picks that I really like, Patrick Surtain, arguably the best cornerback from Alabama
Yeah, he's
in
gone. He's
the
gone.
entire NFL, which I don't think will be there.
Probably the best player in the draft.
Number 6.
Yeah.
So, a lot to see from the Eagles. Like I said, they took that hit with the cat in the trade for Carson Wentz, but Howie is attempting to do some things, and believe it or not, the money that he is arguably freeing up would be good for these rookies, but you have to pick these guys that can come in and produce, maybe not immediately, but shortly thereafter.
Second year.
There's also talk about possibly at number 6 as well, the wide receiver Waddle, who was injured from Alabama, who arguably could have been the Heisman Trophy winner if not for being injured over Devontae Smith. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully this new coaching staff is getting together and figuring out what they can use in their system, or how they can pick a guy and adjust that guy's skill set to fit in their system. So we'll see what happens. And as always, I will definitely, as I hear stuff, report it to you in every way that I can. Closing out, got some schedules for you for tonight in the NHL. You have the Golden Knights are at the Wild. The Coyotes face off against the Avalanche. The Senators are facing the Oilers. The Blues and the Sharks. The Kings and the Ducks. And the Canadiens and the Canucks. In NCAA basketball, as we get closer to the tournament and the selection show coming up Sunday, Milwaukee is at Cleveland State. Northern Kentucky is at Oakland. Basketball resumes on Wednesday for the NBA. Again, shout outs to the Sixers G League affiliate, the Delaware Blue Coats, for making the postseason as a number 4 seed. They face off once again tonight against the Austin Spurs at 8:15 p.m. You have been tuned into Sports Rap right here on Heat 100 Radio. It's your boy D.
It's your boy Frank.
You know where to find me: Instagram and Twitter at SportsRap_D. You can get me in the Facebook group Sports Rap Podcast, the webpage sportsrapradio.com. You can also catch us on YouTube, Sports Rap TV, where you can get current video and past videos of the show. You can also catch the feed later this week. It will go up on the podcast feed, iHeartRadio, Google, Spreaker, Spotify, and most places where you get your podcast. Frank?
You can hit me up on Facebook as usual. Catch me on IG 2418, Franklin 2418.
Folks, the warm-up is coming. Enjoy the rest of your Monday, going into the rest of your week. 40 something today, not too bad. Tomorrow, Wednesday
70.
High 60s. Changes are coming, folks. It's going to get nice. Unfortunately, still not much we can do outside, but we can enjoy the sunshine in our own way. Be great on purpose. Tune in next Monday as we have more great sports dialogue for you, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. and all week on social media. Enjoy some music and tune in, because Heat 100 Radio will keep you rocking way past the time that we're on, way past the other shows, and way past the morning rush. But you gotta tune in. When you tune in, go to the link. The link is in the bio for me on Instagram, and it's in the group description. Click that link and ask you to register. Please register, so we know that you're tuned in, and you will be alerted and will not miss anything of any of our shows, and nothing will be missed from Heat 100 Radio. Again, be great on purpose today. Enjoy your Monday, and look forward to a great week.